So hello everyone, thanks for joining me. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Craig Chiffers. I'm just making sure I spelt that right at the top, because sometimes I have a habit of spelling my own name wrong. My day-to-day job is as an infrastructure consultant. I'm also a Microsoft MVP as well. I was told recently that I'm the only certified MVP in Australia in Teams, which is pretty cool. I had no idea. So there we go. We're going to be talking about meetings today. Before we do that though, if you don't already have the Teams app downloaded on your smartphone, hopefully everyone has a smartphone, not one of those old school Nokia things, cool, or your laptop, feel free to download it now. The reason for that is I want you guys to get involved in what I'll be doing a little bit later on, okay? No pressure, but if you want to get involved, feel free to download it. So a little bit about me. When I'm not dressed like this and working in offices, deploying Teams and Skype, I dress up a little bit like that or a little bit like that, an orange wiggle or a yellow wiggle. That's with the SES, chopping down trees. I'm sure all of you are familiar with what the State Emergency Service does. And when I'm not an orange wiggle, I'm a yellow wiggle, working with the Royal Fire Service. Also ride a motorcycle as well. Does anyone here into their motorcycles? Yes? Awesome. Good stuff. Zlatko, you're not into your motorcycles? No. Zlatko's not a fan of me riding motorcycles. He likes me to be alive so I can deploy Skype or Teams for you, right? Awesome. All right, meetings. We either love them or we hate them. Who here thinks that they attend far too many meetings? Yep, I'm in that crowd as well. We have meetings for literally everything. We have agile meetings, Senate meetings, boardroom meetings, dial-in conferences, WebEx, Skype, a quick coffee catch-up. We're actually in a meeting right now, believe it or not. We have meetings about having meetings. We have meetings about having less meetings. And of course, the crowd favorite, which is the 4 p.m. Friday meeting. Who here loves a good 4 p.m. Friday meeting? Of course you do, Ken, yes, yes. The people that put their hand up are generally speaking the people that schedule those meetings. Everyone else is probably thinking about going to the pub, so including me.
Why isn't that every Friday?
You unschedule the meetings. Very good, okay.
4 p.m. any day.
4 p.m. any day, yes. Absolutely, I agree. We spend a lot of time in meetings, a lot of time. These are just some stats that I pulled from the web just prior to doing the presentation today. Apparently since 2000, the amount of time that we spend in meetings has increased by 10% every single year. Who here feels like the majority of their day is taken up by meetings these days? Yeah, absolutely. There are days where I'm back-to-back meetings, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Weeks even sometimes. The average meeting lasts about 31 to 60 minutes. Although generally speaking, a lot of the meetings that I have are kind of 5-10 minute catch-ups, especially if it's over coffee. The majority of meetings do involve about 2 to 4 people. Only 37% of those meetings, or less, actually have clear agendas. How many times have you attended a meeting where it's come and talk about this, but there's no actual clear agenda about why you're even there or why you even need to be there? Do you even need to be there? That's a great question. Of course, setting clear agendas does decrease the amount of time that we spend in meetings by up to 80%, according to the statistics. And of course, 92% of people, including me, multitasking in meetings. You're multitasking right now. You're multitasking right now. Who sits in a meeting checking their emails or clearing their inbox? I do it. I'm guilty of it. Everyone, pretty much everyone does it, sits there browsing Facebook, etc., right? 69% of attendees, including you and you, not to point you out, but you were doing it right at the front row, check their email during a meeting. What do we think that does to the attendees and to us and to our attention during the meeting? If we're sat there clearing out our inbox, do we even need to be there? Good answer, no, potentially not. And going back to what Ken was saying before, Ken said 10 minutes. The industry standard today in setting up a meeting, getting it going, getting everyone on the call, making sure everyone can hear what we're saying, getting the camera going, getting the PowerPoint deck so everyone can see it, making sure Sarah, who's working from home, has remembered to dial in on time, 15 minutes. So if our meeting starts at 9 a.m., we're not being productive until at least 9:15 in that meeting. If the meeting ends at 9:30, we've only got 15 minutes to talk about something that probably most of us either don't need to be there for or have no idea why we're there because no agenda was sent out. 15 minutes is the industry standard. So what does a typical meeting room today look like? Well, potentially this. So there's a few things going on here that I'll point out. Of course, we've got 2 phones on the desk here. One of them is a conference room phone. Hands up if that looks like one of the meeting rooms in your environment today, or maybe more than one meeting room in your environment. Absolutely, yeah. So we've got a whiteboard there, or a flip chart. We've got a digital display. Not entirely sure how we're going to connect to that. Maybe we forgot to bring our adapter, so we can't plug into it. We've got 2 phones on the desk. I'm not sure if one's for internal calls, one's for external calls. Not entirely sure what's going on there. I do like how the flowers are coordinated with the colour of the clock, though, so someone's obviously thought about that. And of course, sorry, what was that?
I wouldn't have them like in the way of the projector. They would be in the middle of the table.
Well, of course, yeah, because if you're sat here, you probably can't actually see what's on the screen, which may or may not be a good thing. And of course, there's one of these as well in pretty much every meeting room that I've ever walked into. That's a Panasonic Panaboard. You may not be familiar with the name of it, but you've probably seen, hands up if you've seen one of these in a meeting room before, or used one. Has anyone actually printed out using the printer icon on the bottom there, or the little printer that's, yeah? Only if there's paper in it. Is there ever paper in it? I actually have no idea how that thing works. I've given it a go, and yeah, no idea. But they're in a lot of the meeting rooms that we use today. So what are the challenges around all of this? Well, first of all, we've got outdated technology. We're asking people to come into a space to collaborate and work together and come up with great ideas, and what are we doing to them? Well, we're giving them old school whiteboard printers and TVs that don't have the right necessary dongles to connect to. We're giving them crappy projectors or conference room phones that no one has any idea how to use. Time and time again as well, I see this in organizations that I walk into, limited connectivity. So in your environment today, you may have started rolling out the ability for people to bring laptops into meetings. Great, everyone gets a Surface Hub, or everyone gets a Surface laptop, Surface Hub. That would imagine trying to wheel one of those into the meeting room. That would be good, wouldn't it? Sorry, guys. Yeah. So you give everyone laptops, and then you get into the meeting room, and there's no Wi-Fi coverage in the meeting room. Or there's no PowerPoint, so I can't plug my phone into charge so I can sit there clearing my inbox or browsing Facebook. So we're giving people the technology, but then when we need them to use it the most, we're taking that ability away from them. And of course, it's all well and good talking about Teams and Teams rooms and even Skype as well, but some of us actually have spent a large amount of money on existing technology. So be that your Cisco's, your Polycoms, or any other system. What do we do about that? We can't just go, well, I'm just going to go to the CIO and tell him to drop $500,000 on upgrading all the tech in our room. That'd be great if we could do that. The reality, of course, isn't always the case. So how do we go from a room that looks like this to something that looks a little bit like this? Of course, and there's always someone being smart in the room that says, just move offices, it's a different office. Well, of course, we could change our location. We could move to a brand new shiny office, but there are some things that we can do in this situation that brings us up to date to a more kind of sexy, sleek looking experience. So there are some possible solutions to this. We need to replace outdated technology where possible. So get rid of those projectors, get rid of those whiteboards, or keep them, which we'll go into a little bit later on. Get rid of the conference room phones as well. Replace them with potentially something that looks a little bit like this. This is a Yealink Teams conference room phone. There's no power to it at the moment, but trust me, they work quite well. Enhance that connectivity. So give people the ability to bring their laptops and contribute. Give them the ability to connect to internal Wi-Fi that actually works. And ensure that there's adequate power points for charging. And of course, on that Cisco point or that Polycom point, reuse that existing technology where we can. Instead of trying to wheel something new into the meeting room that says, oh, actually, Jan, don't use that screen. We want you to use this screen instead. Why can't Jan use both screens? Okay. Does anyone have any questions so far, by the way? Feel free to just jump in with your questions. Stick your hand in the air if you have a question at any point. On to the point about clearing inboxes. Research has shown that by enabling video in a meeting, in a conference call, it increases attentiveness. Now, there's various different figures that I've seen about this. I've seen as low as 10%, I've seen as high as 90%. The fact remains that by turning on video during a meeting, engagement increases, productivity increases, everything increases. 2 thumbs up. Let's talk about end user devices a moment. So these are the things that users touch in the rooms. These things, these things, these things, anything that the user interacts with during the day. Now, you may have things that look like this today in your environment. I mean, hopefully not. Hopefully no one has one of those. I mean, kind of cool if you've got it working. No one here has one of those in there? No, good stuff. Or of course your tin can potentially might work for you, not sure. Probably something that looks a little bit more like this. So your kind of typical handsets, again in that picture we saw before, there were actually 2 handsets on the desk. And headsets as well. So today staff may be using their own headsets. I imagine most people here have iPhones or Androids using the earbuds that came with your device. Potentially some of you have upgraded to Bluetooth, etc. I think I've got some in my pocket right now. These things, little wireless buds. Yep. These are the things that users touch to utilize your comm system today, your phone system, and your conferencing equipment. So how do we go from something that looks like old school, your tin can, your old school telephony, to your new shiny sexy devices, your Teams handsets? That one on the left there is a Yealink 56A, I believe, and your certified devices. Keyword there being certified. It's important that we're using certified devices for Teams and not just our Kmart jobby headphones. Comes back to the user experience.
User experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
What performance in clarity and
Yeah, so if you plug your $10 Kmart headphones into your laptop and you walk into a meeting room and you try and join a call, what do you think that experience is going to be like? So if I'm a user and I'm using Microsoft Teams or Skype for Business today, and I plug my headphones in, I join the meeting, and I sit there and the audio is terrible, and the person on the end of the phone is like, oh, I can't hear what you're saying, or the echo is really bad. What do you think that your experience and their experience of using that product is going to be like? Remember that the device that the user uses is their experience of the product.